Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our continued special meetings that we're having with regards to our budget. This special meeting is for Monday, December the 8th. We apologize for delay in the start here. We just had to do some updates here with our tech. So, but able to go here. So we will start with our land acknowledgement. In the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth, we honor and acknowledge the Mokitas and the traditional Treaty 7 territory and oral practices of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, Liko Dakota Nations, Chiniki, Bearspaw, Goodstoney, and Tsuut'ina Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis government of the Métis Nation with Alberta District 4. And finally, we acknowledge all nations, Indigenous and non, who live, work, and play on this land and who honor and celebrate this territory. This sacred gathering place provides us with an opportunity to engage in and demonstrate leadership on reconciliation, and we are honored to have you join us on Treaty 7 territory. We are continuing with the meetings that we've been having, but we do need to approve the agenda. But the agenda essentially is a continuation of what we've done over the last couple of special meetings, where we are continuing on with the operating and capital budget. So can I have a councillor make the following motion, please? Councillor Randhawa.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning, everyone. I move that the Council approve the December 8th, 2025 special meeting of Council agenda as presented.
Comments, questions from Council? Call for the vote. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. So, as I said, what's going to be happening here this morning and throughout the day today is we are continuing with our public presentations from administration as each department is bringing forward their requests. Something I'd like to clarify really quick on this is these are requests. Nothing has been approved yet. And the reason I bring that up is twofold. Number one, that doesn't mean that council won't approve it. It also doesn't mean council has approved it. So I know over the last number of days, I've been getting a number of questions of why have you approved this and why are you doing that? And so just to clarify, we haven't approved an interim budget yet for 2026. These are proposals that are coming from administration as to things that they would like to see within the budget. And then what will happen over the next couple of meetings, so including today, tomorrow afternoon, and then on Tuesday, December the 16th, is council will be deliberating those items, and council may just approve everything, or council may approve nothing. Kidding. But we will be having deliberations as to what will stay in the budget, what could come out of the budget, moving some things around in the budget. But I did just want to specify that nothing has actually been approved in the budget yet for 2026. So with that, Mr. Edney, where is the ship sailing to first this morning? Mr. Edney.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Dean. Good morning, council and public watching. And I just want to say thanks to both council and staff for being so adaptive in this process as we work through it here. So appreciate staff changing up their calendars quickly to be here this morning to continue this process. Today, we're going to be talking about community operations and public safety. And I think we're going to start with James Blair, our parks manager, slide 118 in the agenda package.
Great, thank you. One other thing that I just want to clarify is that due to his other roles, as we know that all of our councillors serve in other capacities as well outside of the roles outside of the role as councillor. Deputy Mayor is educating young minds of tomorrow today, so is not here. I do have to step out at a couple of occasions today due to some meetings that were previously booked and unable to move, and so at that time I will be relinquishing the chair to Councillor Sandbo this morning. So just some points of clarity for public and administration with regards to some logistics that are going to happen on the council side. So with that, Mr. Blair, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, my name is James Blair. I'm the Parks Manager here for the City of Chestermere. All my comments will be through the CAO to Mayor and Council. The Parks Department provides a number of services for the city, including but not limited to turf maintenance for over 370 acres of green space, gardening, pruning, landscaping, integrated pest management, irrigation maintenance, winter outdoor rink maintenance, playground inspections, snow removal, lake services for lake weed cutting, collection, putting out the buoys each year, invasive species monitoring, the boat launch operation, FAC and CCC inspections, general maintenance of equipment, responding to service requests, beach grooming, seasonal watering, etc. For the operational budget, under oh, that's the wrong page. There were three minor increases under supplies and materials for 3 different jail codes. And then there was a decrease in one other code for rental and lease agreements, of which we don't do much of anymore. At one point in time, we did rent or lease a lot of our fleet vehicles, but we've moved away from that model. So the difference is almost a wash between those two. The major ask this year is in staffing. Similarly to last year, we are looking to add 1 full-time crew lead position and additional funding for seasonal staff and providing a competitive compensation for our seasonal staff. That's it for operating. We can go through the capital projects we'd like to do, or if you want to ask questions about the operating first, that we can do that.
Okay. Looking to council, do you have questions with regards? So you are asking either if we have questions about operating or capital right now?
Operating for now, and then we can go through the capital projects like we did prior.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions with regards to operating for the parks budget? Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. Through the church administration, could you tell me, I've heard this term a few times in the past few weeks, Class 1 park. How many Class 1 parks do we have, and what percentage does that make up of our total parks green space that we maintain?
Of the 370 acres, roughly 50 acres is Class 1.
Perfect, okay. And what makes it a Class 1?
There'd be like your feature parks, like Anniversary Park, John Peak Park, any of the sports fields we maintain at school sites, soccer fields, baseball diamonds, parks and areas of that nature. So they would get an enhanced level of maintenance compared to a Class 2, Class 3, or ER, Environmental Reserve.
Okay, thank you.
Speaking of on the Class 1s, as you know, we've had some concerns that have been raised by some of our local soccer groups with regards to some of our soccer fields, especially those over in the Kinderberg area by Eastlake School. I was just wondering if you can speak to that, how that's reflected in the budget, because I know that it is, but I was just wondering if you could speak to that for a moment, please.
Yeah, for sure. So keeping those soccer fields healthy is definitely a challenge. The user groups are plenty, and the fields get more traffic than they probably should. Each year it's a challenge to rehab the fields, in particular the goal mouths and the high traffic areas. So moving forward in 2027, myself along with our turf group, we're coming up with a rehabilitation project which will help spread out the user groups through scheduling and giving permits, and then having essentially a time frame where we're getting ahead of the maintenance and the rehab, starting with a fertilization program. You'll see in one of our capital projects, we're asking to get a new fertilizer spreader for our turf tractor. So that's all coming online this spring.
Awesome, thank you. I also noticed too, I was wondering where the maintenance or upkeep of the bike park is captured within the budget?
So we have a crew there, anywhere from 1 to 4 or 5 people a day. It depends on the day, depends on the tasks. We were lucky enough this year to have an individual who had lots of trail building experience and machine experience. So the bulk of the labor comes out of our seasonal staff. There's no set budget for the bike park. We kind of allot time and manpower and resources as needed.
Great, thank you. I guess I would say to council, we have a group of passionate residents in our community about this bike park who would love to become more involved in the bike park and be wanting to. They would actually love to look at starting up an organization to even help run the bike park. So I'm not sure if that's somewhere in the budget piece where we can capture that. But I would love for us to, as a council, be able to find ways to support that. We've often talked about the idea of finding ways that are an attraction to our community or that sets us unique. I'm not sure, Mr. Blair, if you can speak to this a little bit, but I understand that this bike park is pretty much unlike anything that's close to us. We have people that come out and use it. There's obviously the one at COP, but this is a very unique bike park that could be a bit of a highlight of something that's unique to our community. So I'm just wondering, from a budgetary standpoint, would you see it playing in there, or could you see it more along the lines of the organization that is the City of Chestermere finding ways to empower and work alongside this really passionate group of volunteers who are not just volunteers that like to ride a bike.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
They do.
Right? They have knowledge and experience, and so there's some ideas in here, but they have knowledge and experience, they know what they're doing, but they don't necessarily have the equipment. Whereas I think it's almost the opposite is true for us. We have the equipment, but we don't necessarily have the same experience or knowledge that these guys have. So if we were to look at something like that, I would just wonder if you for a moment could speak to how we can have that play out.
Yeah, so currently how it works is the volunteer group has been around for 4 or 5 years now, I think. They've been incredibly helpful. They're able to get in after hours where the park is being used the most. Like some days in the summertime, it can be quite busy, so it's a challenge just to get maintenance done on any of the runs. So they've been quite helpful. We've worked alongside them up till this point. But yeah, I could see a partnership with them moving forward, being a little more robust, allowing for them to do more, because right now they're limited in the tasks that they can do, just the way that our agreement stands. But I could see that growing and changing.
Great, thank you. From a logistics standpoint, Mr. Edney, would that be something that's handled through the CEO's office? Would that be something that needs to be back through council? Should we book a presentation at a GAP meeting, have these guys come and present at a GAP meeting? How logistically could we get behind this, Mr. Edney?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Dean. Through you to council. Perhaps let me chat with James a little bit more and then circle back to you. To your point earlier, I don't think it's a budget-specific item, whether the GAP meeting makes sense or just the understanding of what we've heard here to start exploring how we can expand that. Let me chat with James because I don't know enough about this program to give you a great answer right now, but we can circle back in the new year and at the very least give you an update of where we're at.
Great, thank you.
Something at GAP sounds like a good idea.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. I've mentioned this previously about the rec committee and the third-party framework that is being presented, the partnership framework that is being developed right now. So, but having said that, this should inform that partnership framework before we bring it to GAP. So I feel like there might be value in a presentation. I don't know if it needs to be at a meeting, but I think one way or another, that feedback should be taken into account into what we're doing right now. So I'm open to suggestions on how to tackle that.
No, that's a good idea too, about having it connected to the rec committee. So I will get the right humans connected to be able to start this conversation. Awesome, thank you. Council, any other questions with regards to the operating parks budget? Great, thank you. I think we're going Parks Capital next.
Yes, so we have a few capital projects we'd like to complete this coming year, starting with a playground life cycle replacement. The CAO had added in here a placeholder for a splash park, an amenities program, which would be an annual thing, replacing or adding benches, gazebos, picnic tables, signage. There was the public art project, which was added, golf course and safety improvements, and a bridge inspection and repair program, which runs every 5 years. That's for our pedestrian bridges in some of our green spaces. The Colton Court final tie-in, which is an asphalt pathway, finalizing that connectivity through Kinnenberg. And regional pathway and asphalt repair program, again, an annual program with money set aside to upgrade, repair, fix our regional pathway that runs throughout time, of which we have approximately 30 kilometers of. There was the 2 truck upgrades, a heavy-duty truck and trailer, mower replacement, end of life cycle, the tree spade replacement, the fertilizer spreader replacement, and the aquatic lakeweed skimmer project.
Great, thank you. I have a couple questions. First of all, do I want to start with debate first or question? Question. So there was a resource that Councillor Schindler had found with regards to a skimmer that pulled weeds. I sent that particular company an email. I have not heard back yet. The inquiry I had for them was how deep to a lake it goes. So I read through all the resources. I read through their pamphlets. I read through all their stuff. There's nothing on with their online information that talks about like the depth of lake that particular product's able to serve.
Yeah.
When I looked at it, though, it looks like it's for small, I'm not even sure how to describe it, but for like smaller community lakes. Were you able to explore that resource at all to see if that would be something that we could look at for ours?
Yeah, so that you're not wrong. It's ideal for getting in and out of dock areas. It's a smaller machine. I don't know if you recall a few years ago, we had a smaller harvester, which was on the north side here for a few years. It's probably more that size, maybe even a little bit smaller. From what I could tell, it doesn't go that deep in the water, whereas our harvesters that we have currently go 5-6 feet below the water surface. This machine does do a good enough job skimming algae and that sort of lily pads, stuff that's floating on the top, floating weeds. It would do a good job, but it just doesn't have the capacity, in my opinion, compared to the units that we have been looking at.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. I looked at that as well. So I was just, so thank you for that. I was wondering if administration had an opportunity to look into that resource that had been provided. Because like I said, truth be told, I'm about a month behind on some emails right now, but I'm looking right now and I don't see a response from them as of yet. But like I said, I had reached out to them just because I was curious about the depth. Because like I said, when I watched all of the resources, their YouTube videos, everything, it looked like quite smaller lakes than what we have here in Chestermere.
Appreciate the resource, by the way.
The next question that I had has to do with Splash Park. I want to throw it onto the table. I think the idea of providing as much and more recreational amenities and opportunities in our community as we can is important, and we should be exploring as many as we can. I think we need a strategy. and I'm not sure if we should be making a $2 sign investment. I hope you like what I did there. A $2 sign investment into a recreational amenity without a strategy. Now, having said that, I would love to see our recreational committee work as quickly and prudently as possible on getting said strategy. That's not a criticism, it's an encouragement. But that's just where I'm at with regards to the splash park. I would love to have a splash park in Chestermere. I would also love to see more grassroots happen. So in speaking with other municipalities, they have amenities like splash parks literally because of grassroots movements, where a group of very passionate parents, moms, got together and sold a lot of tacos in a bag and did a lot of fundraising specifically for projects. And so I would love to see that. The other thing that I would love to see, and this goes back to the conversation we were having a minute ago under operating budget for the soccer fields, I think this also relates to capital budget, is to administration. I would love to see the naming policy coming to council as quickly as possible. I think we have investors in the community that want to invest in things, and putting your name on a splash park is something that makes a lot of sense. How many communities do we go to and it's splash park presented by, right? We have some groups right now that want to put bleachers in at some of our soccer fields and things like that. They're just waiting for us to pull the trigger on ways for them to be able to invest. So I just wanted to highlight that as part of the budgeting process because we wanted to bring that up. Certainly open to any councillor that wants to bring any commentary to that. But again, I am for a splash park. I just want to see an overall rec strategy before we invest double dollar signs into it. Mr. Edney.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Dean. We're working on it, just with a couple of changes internally here.
Sorry, can you specify the it? Because I brought up a couple different things.
The naming policy.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was going to further clarify, we'll have the naming policy back in front of council, or I guess not back, in front of council by the end of January for you to review. Hopefully earlier, but we're pushing as fast as we can with bandwidth right now.
Great, thank you. Any other comments, questions from council with regard, because, sorry, I just need to make sure. Yeah, because we got to the end of your budget, good. Of your operating, sorry. We got to the end of your parks capital budget.
Yeah.
Easy for you to say. Any other comments, questions from council with regards to the operating and or capital budget for parks? Councillor Sambo.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning, and through to Mr. Edney and through to the presenters. Thank you for this information. There's a lot of items on here. I wanted to clarify on the second page of capital expenses, were there some items on there that you, I believe we were talking about moving some of these into the 2027 budget. Were there some items on there that we knew were not being requested for 2026?
Yes.
Which items were those?
So the two-door dump box replacement is a 2027. The new half-ton truck is a 2027, and the first item on that page was actually completed this year.
All right, so those first three are not requests for 2026.
Yes.
Okay. So a number of things. First of all, the Youth Safer Action working group, I guess, came up with a couple of quick wins for youth that they wanted to try to incorporate into the budget if possible. I think some of them are worth discussing. One of them is this idea that keeps coming up of a graffiti wall, which I know is sometimes operationally hard to manage, but maybe in front of a camera at JPP or something, it's a little bit easier to manage. We have public art presented in this budget. Could that fall under that by any chance?
I don't see why not.
It could. Is that something we'd like to see?
Mr. Edney.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Dean. So that particular capital budget item was a bit of a placeholder based on some discussions throughout the year of doing something like this, whether it's a graffiti wall, it's some signs, a nice Chestermere, not welcome to Chestermere, but Chestermere sign down in John Peak or anniversary or something like that. So I think this particular project has quite a bit of flexibility. So I'd look to guidance from council on what you'd like to see if you do want to go forward with this, and I think that would be a great start.
All right, then I will propose that that's what that budget line item be used for, because it seems to be supported by folks who are considering the youth in our community. Another one that was brought forward that might be within this portfolio is basketball, outdoor basketball. Is there anything we can do in that regard in 2026?
So basketball is a sensitive subject depending on the location of the nets, proximity to homes, who's living in those homes. Keeping people, like I'm all for it. I like, we have basketball nets now in Waterford. We have basketball nets in Waterford Estates, Prairie Waters. Basically any of the schools, there's basketball nets. But that being said, it's hard to enforce the rules around when people should be using them, after hours in particular. We've had to remove one basketball net, unfortunately, because of what was going on. It is something, if directed, we could look at in future MR space, future parks, if the site is suitable for that sort of amenity, then we can start asking for it more, for sure.
All right, it sounds like that one's maybe a little bit more complicated, so we can park that one. Thank you. The last one I wanted to ask about, and actually through the chair to Councillor Grant, if you want to add comments to this, because I know you always bring this up, but with the playground life cycle replacement program, we've talked at different times about accessibility and making accessible playgrounds. Is there any way to make the one that we replace this year an accessible playground?
Yep.
And how would that specifically impact the budget that's been presented?
It shouldn't impact the budget. We can look at alternatives, in particular for the surfacing that we spoke about briefly, which is, I think I mentioned, the industry is trending that way. Yeah.
So for the surfacing, that's easy to do. What about the actual playground?
Yeah, features for sure. Yep. We can look at. We always try and include as many as we can with the footprint that we're working with, and obviously the budget that we have. But we always try to include some accessible features for those individuals.
Okay. I think that would be a very good amenity to have in town. We actually, this is something that comes up every time I do door knocking for families, especially children with any kind of different ability. So I would love to see that. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to go back to the public art and the graffiti wall. For me, it is the same as the splash park. I would like to see a strategy. So if the strategy is wins for our youth, so that there's more for youth to do, or youth involvement, or youth being able to have access to X, Y, and Z, great. So what's the strategy? What are we doing there? Because my fear is, or concern, maybe a less drastic word. My concern is that without a strategy, you end up with a ring. And we go, yay, we did public art, and there's a beautiful blue ring on Highway to Deerfoot Trail. So I'm not saying that would happen in Chestermere, but we have seen this happen in other communities, right? Whereas other communities go, we're going to have a focus on public art, and then they don't necessarily have a strategy, and then they end up with a public art that's not necessarily supported by the public, right? And so certainly when we were at FCM, we saw this incredible space in Gatineau. We saw this incredible space in Gatineau where it was like, oh my gosh, if we could like pick that up and move it to Chestermere, maybe nearby City Hall on some lands that we're talking to the CEO about. But if we were able to do something like that, like absolutely, I'd be all over it. So I guess I would be of the same mindset as I am with a splash park. Is before is I don't want to. For me, the public art piece, I don't want it to just be a tick box. I would love for it to have a strategy that's attached to it that falls under that. And it actually goes back to like the outdoor basketball courts, the whole piece of it, if you will, right? I'd love to know what we are doing as a council fits under this strategy so that we can tell this story about what we are doing as a community moving forward. I just think that should be the through line that comes through everything that we do as a council. Councillor Sample.
Thank you, Your Worship. I very much agree with what you're saying. To clarify, are you saying that you don't support the graffiti wall idea or you don't support some other kind of public art?
Oh, I apologize. I support the graffiti wall as so long as it fits under a strategy. So here's what I don't want to do. I don't want to go, the project for public art is graffiti wall. Administration, go figure out a spot to put a graffiti wall. What's the strategy that's attached to it and how does that fit? So I support graffiti wall. I just want to know how it fits overall into a grander scheme of what we're doing into the big picture. So something we've talked about throughout this budget process is what is the big picture that we're focusing on, because I would hate to throw it up somewhere and then we're moving it in 2 years because we didn't really have a strategy for it, and then all of a sudden we're moving it because we're doing something else in that space. So that's more what I'm getting at is I would love to see how that fits as part of a grander strategy, why that location's chosen, all of those sorts of things. I just want to make sure that it's done with intentionality. Because again, my concern is that I have seen not just the one I'm making light of, but in other municipalities where something with public art, it becomes a tick box. And then all of a sudden it just doesn't really fit with the flavor of the community. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, why were they doing that? That's all I mean by strategy. So yes to graffiti wall. What's the strategy for it?
If I could just add one more comment to that, Your Worship, I think for me, the graffiti wall, if it had to be moved in 2 years, it's not a big deal.
Sure.
Because unlike the splash park, which is $2 signs, I think the graffiti wall is probably a half or a quarter of a dollar sign.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah. Mr. Edney?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Dean. I think you've hit on a good point here, too, that we're discussing as administration internally. There was a lot of discussion from council about a bunch of different strategy, outdoor spaces, outdoor recreation, winter recreation, all this kind of stuff that kind of lumped into one thing. I won't steal Kylie's thunder when she comes up to talk about recreation, but we do have some money in the budget for this type of thing. But I think this would be a perfect thing for administration to bring back to council either like sometime by final budget of some of this strategy, whether it's coming at a GAP meeting, working with the rec committee, getting council involved. Maybe you and I can talk offline about how we do that, but coming back with some sort of fulsome strategy to say, here's how we're going to do all of these projects, how they all fit together. Should the graffiti wall be by the basketball courts, or is that a bad idea? You know, those kind of things, right? I think in the next few months we can come back with something pretty tangible for council to consider when you make your final budget decisions.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I think too, it's also, we can make mention of, I do think that we as council, when we get through this budgeting process and then, you know, the holiday season, if you will, to revisit our strategic plan. I think we have a very good strategic plan, but I think it would be good for us to revisit it because there may be more through lines that we could create in our strategic plan. And I could see us starting that process in January. Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mayor. So that was largely my question: is who owns the development of this strategy now? Like I'm trying to move along to how do we action stuff most of the time, who's owning it, and what's the deliverable? Because I often find that we say nice things and it goes into the ether a little bit and it doesn't always come back. Agreed. So specifically, who are we looking to own this? Is it admin? Is admin bringing it back? And by what time is kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, thank you. I would say with that, I would suggest that January, early February, we revisit our strategic plan. I think at that time we'll be able to answer that question.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for parks, operating, or capital? Nope. Okay. We are now going to, is there anything else that you wanted to highlight from the parks perspective? Okay.
I did mention the seasonal.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah,
yep. He did.
kind of just lumped it all together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Where are we off to next, Mr. Edney? Mr. Edney.
We'll have roads, which
Thank
should
you.
be right next in your agenda package.
Thank you. $126, yeah.
Ready?
Morning.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. My name is Brendan Couch. I am the manager of the Roads and Fleet Department. All comments and conversations I'll be having today will be directed through the CAO to Mayor and Council. The Roads Department consists of 7 operators, 1 laborer, and 1 coordinator. We maintain all city-owned assets, approximately 130 kilometers of paved roads, 9 kilometers of rural roads, and a significant number of sidewalks. Some of the major services we provide include snow maintenance, street sweeping, all signage, and line painting for all crosswalks and stop bars within the city. As well as managing contracted services, we also support the storm department by maintaining catch basins and other storm assets. All budget increases I am requesting relate to additional assets such as new kilometers of roads and sidewalks from newly developed areas that are now the city's responsibility, as well as aging infrastructure and historic information. For roads personnel, I am requesting 1 additional operator in 2026. This position is necessary to maintain our current level of service. The need is driven by additional kilometers that the city has taken over in recent years, along with the projected 25% increase in road coverage between now and 2028. So for the operating, the biggest request will be a personnel request. The increase that you guys see on your paper isn't 100% accurate. Going throughout this process of building the PowerPoint, I believe one of the fleet asks got put onto the operating ask. So it is a higher increase on paper, what you guys see, than what I'm actually requesting. Other bigger increases would be for contracted services. This is to increase the roads budget to assist with more projects such as dust control, larger road repairs, long lines, semi-permanent markings, traffic lights, and much more. Within this budget is also expenses that go towards all external road vehicle repairs. There has been some decreases. One is business and trading, just due to historically being underspent. Supplies and materials has a slight increase. Again, that goes back to the additional kilometers of roads and stuff that we have now. With that, you need more materials to sand the streets and all that. So that's my operating. Do you want to do something similar like you did with the Parks Department and ask about operating now?
Sure. So council, with regards to the roads operating budget, are there any questions for Mr. Couch? Not one.
Look at that.
You're good.
Okay, we'll move to the capital budget now. So the concrete condition assessment, we already spoke about this. This is something that I believe can be moved or taken on internally. So we can scratch that capital project for 2026 at least and relook at it in the future. The concrete life cycle replacement program, that is to replace all city sidewalks that are damaged due to things like freeze and thaw cycles and other various reasons, leading to safety risks such as trip hazards, and could also hinder commuters with wheelchairs, baby strollers, etc. The traffic light upgrade is for emergency services. Currently, the traffic lights do not detect all approaching emergency vehicles to trigger a change in the lights, which would allow them to pass without delay when responding to emergencies. This program installation will enable emergency vehicles to avoid the risks associated with running red lights while also alleviating traffic congestion before the emergency vehicle reaches the intersection. This improvement will help reduce response times and enhance traffic safety. Crosswalk lights, requesting some funding for crosswalk lights just to improve safety along intersections. The crosswalk lights improve visibility to the drivers and let the drivers know that there's someone wanting to cross the road. Raised crosswalks is another one that I think we've discussed, that there's funding from last year's capital budget that we can move it to this year's. So if I'm saying that correctly, Kent, that won't be a project that we're asking for this year as well, if the funding can be moved. The road surface condition assessment, I think Councillor Grant touched on this. Public does our assessments somewhat in a point. We kind of know when there's an issue. That being said, if that's something that would be passed on, we could get a more thorough idea of what we need to budget in the future, more or less. The front plow replacement is just an aging plow that we've tried to band-aid and weld on top of welds. So at this point, it just needs to be replaced. Crew cab, the request for that would be dependent on if we get the operational request for an additional operator this year as well. And that's it for roads capital.
Mr. Edney?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Dean. I just wanted to go back to the road surfaces condition assessment. I know there's a bit of joking in some of these comments here of the community lets us know, but I do think it's important that we have our road staff actively out as part of our asset management program, driving, understanding, documenting. It's a little different than someone saying, hey, that road needs to be fixed versus the roads team actually going, it needs to be fixed, but here's what the problems are. So I would encourage this as a good project for council to consider moving forward with.
And just to clarify, if I can, we do a weekly road check where we try to be proactive in these approaches. This would be more for like a higher level approach to it, if you would say that, so that we can get an idea of everything in a whole. Because as we're growing now, to do it once a week, twice a week, yeah, we pick up on things, but there's things that do get missed.
Yeah, one of the things that I would love to see us doing as well with that, Mr. Edney, is finding ways that all of our staff, everybody involved with the city, is empowered and has a process by which they could let us know, let other departments know about things that they're seeing around the community, right? So if we look at our garbage and recycling operators, who drives the community more every week than those guys, right? Like, they're everywhere in our community. So they're able to see conditions of roads, conditions of sidewalks, whether or not people are putting up illegal, we all know that I'm passionate on this one, the illegal lawn signs that pop up everywhere promoting other businesses and things like that. So would love to find ways for us to be able to do that, because I just think I think it's great that our roads crew is out doing that. They're also doing the work that a roads crew does, right? So would love to be able to see a furthering of that, and not sure if there's already some internal processes for that, but if there's some further work and encouragement that can be done on that, I think it'd be fantastic for us to see all of our staff doing that. Mr. Edney?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Dean. You make a good point, and it's something we're working administratively on, is really working within the organization to start breaking down some of the silos, which matters in the day-to-day work, but it's also those little things. There's a lot of us that live in town. Both Brennan and James can attest. Most of my texts or emails to them are after hours when I'm driving around somewhere and see something. That's something we're encouraging staff to do. Just mention, you see something, mention it to somebody. Internally, we've set up, a whole separate level of just managers meetings for the managers to meet. We're working, it's internal communication, but it's that empowerment to speak up. It doesn't mean anybody's going to get in trouble, right? Hey, there's a sign the roads crew needs to go fix. Doesn't mean the roads crew's going to get in trouble for not identifying it. It's just those little things to enhance our community. So, we're all pulling together in that same fashion you're describing.
Great, thank you. Councillor Grant?
Thank you, Mayor Dean. Through the chair to administration, Mr. Edney. I do understand your point. I do agree that gathering information can be important. I would just like to preface that with, like, let's not create data just for data's sake. Like, what is going to be, what are the actions that we're looking to get after we have the assessment? Is that going to lead to further plans to invest in failing infrastructure? I just want to make sure that if we are creating data, it's for a reason. It's not just to have data. My second comment to that is we need to make sure that we're properly storing that data and that we're able to properly reference that data later. You gentlemen are very aware of the issues we have with losing information, the historical information that's left this building. So who knows? We may have a road condition assessment. We just don't know where it is. That's kind of my point. Is if we do this stuff, there needs to be a future-proof way of making sure that the city maintains these documents and that the future people are able to go and search some sort of database and find it.
Mr. Edney.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Dean. Through you to Councillor Grant. Yeah, I think if you've heard over the past few days, I guess over the last week, there's a lot of different initiatives we're working on administratively, starting with the IT department and the digitization of all of our documents and assets and having those in a nice, concise place to store. The data management group did talk about the asset management software that we're implementing right now and the request for that sort of specialist to drive and lead that function. This is one of those studies that would integrate into there, so I don't think we would run out and start this. Obviously, we're not going to when there's snow on the ground, but until we've got that framework in place, because you're right, I'm sure we've done this, and it's just finding that documentation and making sure we use it. And to your first part of your question, yes, that's absolutely the intent, right? Of we all drive the roads. We see places where either it's manholes or there's, waving. That's not the technical term, but you know what I mean. And this is a way to start documenting that and then coming to council with, rather than just necessarily a placeholder to do things, specific projects and timelines to say, hey, over the next 15 years, here's what we see is starting to fail. Here's where we can do small fixes. Here's where we might need to do larger rebuilds. And just giving the team some concrete data to figure out what it is that needs to be done. So to your point, yeah, I'm passionate about it as well. Of my biggest frustration coming into this organization was it's been around for 60, 70, 80 years, and it's like we're starting from scratch on a lot of things. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, thank you. It sounds to me like there's some language that could be put into a strategic plan of utilizing data to make informed decisions, data-based approach to decision-making and ensuring data is actioned, right? It sounds like, well, right, not to make light of it, but it sounds like those are things that you would put into a strategic plan. Going back to your point earlier of, hey, Mayor Dean, how do we make sure this doesn't just go into the ether and we do nothing with it? That's how we do it. Or some notes that I'm making. Two quick questions that I have for you. Number one, replacing sidewalks. If I am a citizen in Chestermere and I see that the sidewalk in front of my house is in disarray, how do I let the city know about that?
Yeah, you can go on the city website and go to the report it section, fill out your address and all the information, and then it will go to the roads department for us to further investigate.
If I complain about it on a community Facebook page, the city's not going to respond to that because we don't look at them, right? You need to report it through the report it, send an email, pick up the phone, but you have to directly contact, right? Like, we don't necessarily check the community pages, and that's where people are saying, oh, the city's not responding. We don't, that's the community pages. They need to contact the city, correct?
Correct.
Great, thank you. Second question, traffic lights for emergency vehicles. How many communities that are similar in size to us currently have this program?
I'd have to talk to Chief about that. He would probably know a little bit more about that than I do.
He's
but
in the room.
I know. I didn't want to put him on the spot.
Yeah, through the CEO to the mayor and council, there is a number of communities that have this. I'm before coming to Chestermere was from High River. We had a very similar system. Again, a community half the size of this with half the amount of traffic lights. Okotoks was just doing an upgrade in their community as well as Airdrie. So it is a fairly prevalent thing. City of Calgary does utilize it as well. Obviously, they have a plethora of lights, so not every light in the City of Calgary has it. But at major intersections and major routes, which really are the routes where fire trucks would take, through studies and things like that, they've strategically placed these throughout the areas. And I will speak to the fact that they do enhance our response times, and it does enhance responder safety as well. Because what will end up happening is 3 sides will get red lights, and our side in the direction we're coming will get a green light, so which helps clear out the traffic, creates a little bit less chaos on the driver's side, because now those drivers have a green light, they start to proceed, where everybody else has a red light and they're not moving. Whereas if we're coming at it and we're coming into a red light and the other sides have green lights, people are still moving, there's panic ensuing, people see the red light, don't want to pull through the red light, but they know they need to get out of our way, and it creates a little bit of challenges. And comes back to that whole response time piece, which, as we know, is very important for our residents, is to get emergency vehicles there in a timely fashion. So this does tie into that as well.
So I think I was mistaken on this then. I think when this has been presented to us before, it's like an all or nothing. That's not true then. We could, I will be more specific so you don't feel like, we could put this at the intersection closest to the fire hall and no other intersection if we wanted to.
Yeah, in theory, like it could be set up on individual lights, right?
So it's not all or nothing.
System, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, that is right.
Oh.
Yeah. So like, for example, in Harvard, we had one set of lights that really was kind of off the beaten path. We didn't have the system on there because it really didn't, the amount of traffic there at this point in time didn't make sense to have it there. So there is options for just putting it on specific lights. All of the trucks would need the equipment installed in the trucks.
Sure.
Just the lights could be selected.
So within that number, before it went out to procurement and things like that, do we have what it is on a per intersection basis? Yep. So council could see that. Because I would certainly be interested in that. Because like I said, up until you just mentioned what you said about Calgary, where it's not on everyone, I would love to see a number where it's talked about of what if we staged it, what if we looked at different ones, what if we were strategic with it, as opposed to this is just personal, as opposed to the all or nothing on this.
Yeah, correct. We could definitely do it that way. I have the information from last year's budget, and then with a contingency a little bit on top of that, but it is broken down per intersection. Okay. So I can share that with you guys.
Fantastic. Thank you. Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. Through the Chair to Administration, is this project OSL eligible?
Mr. Edney?
Through the Mayor to Councillor Grant, I don't know, but I doubt it.
And that's really where I was going with my question anyways, was should this be part of an OSL subscription where you're developing new intersections, that this technology should be included in the price of a traffic light of the intersection for major intersections if we can prove that it's due to the new developments going in?
Yeah, so I think we could probably look at that of when the new developments do put new stuff in. I just looked at such here. Perhaps that's something we talk about the intersection at Rainbow Road in Dawson by Our Lady of Wisdom that's coming in the spring, of integrating this into that design. I don't think we could make a case, at West Chestermere and Chestermere Boulevard of necessarily due to the growth, because it is more of a operational enhancement, I guess, but I do think we could make a case on the new intersections to include it. So leave that with us, and we'll dig into it and come back to you.
Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Edney. I hope you get what I'm getting at. I often hear about the problems with, not the problems, the maybe shortcomings of the OSL model, and that we're often chasing the tail. And I want to make sure that our OSL program or subscription is as robust, as thoughtful, as front-thinking as it can be, because I think it's important to make sure that we're having those conversations and that we're not leaving dollars on the table that we're having to spend later.
Yeah, and Councillor Grant, sorry. My voice is shot this morning. Councillor Grant, to your point, for me it's OSL and what I mean by that is if I was to go back to, this is Mr. Blair's world, more than it is Mr. Couch's world, but if I was to go back to the parks conversation, look at the park that's been created in the Waterford. It's beautiful. It's got big green space. It's got some benches. It's got a basketball hoop. The playground's not bad, right? Like the park in Waterford is really good, and in my opinion, would be a bit of a standard. So where I'm going with that is where I support your comments is I don't know if this is an OSL piece or if it is part of the SP process or what happens, but where I'm going with this is that when you do a development in Chestermere, there's a certain level of standard that we expect. And we expect a certain level of standard for our parks that are going in, because go into some of our other communities, I'm not going to name them by name just so I don't upset anybody, but if you go in and you compare parks in some of our other communities and then go over to the Waterford one, right, there is a remarkable difference. And so one of the things that I would love to see, and this is where I'm supporting what you're saying, is, again, I don't know if this is OSL, but as part of your development, if there's a lighted intersection, the expectation is that you're putting in this technology, right? And so that's what I would love to see coming out of our planning and development is a further defined, robust standard of what we expect as a community. If you are going to develop in Chestermere, great. We welcome you. We welcome the business. We welcome what's going on. We have a certain standard that you will hit. Speech over. Mr. Chadwick.
Thank you, Marine. We, as a group, have been working on developing some standards surrounding parks and development in general. There have been some developments that have sort of been approved without such standards. And I personally sort of see it as a substandard development, least to say. So we've been having conversations surrounding what the minimum size of parks should be, how our developments in general should look like. Those conversations are already happening. We're working on it. Hopefully, going forward, we'll have better subdivisions and better outline plans for council's consideration.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, if we were to go through some of our budget items that we have in our capital budget, how many things are we adding to our capital budget that are catch-up items? Whereas if they were a minimum standard that we expect, gazebos, picnic benches, picnic tables, they were a minimum standard that when you build a community, there will be green space for families to gather, and that's part of the development. How much that could impact in a positive light our own budget then moving forward. Councillor Randhawa.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to Mr. Edney, to the presenter. I have a question for this emergency vehicle lights as well. So the quote you give is for all those 3 lights we have is for that?
It's all lights, so I think there's a total of 6.
Okay.
And the vehicles.
And the vehicle is included?
Yeah, the vehicles are mostly included. Some of them are being purchased, I believe, in the past with already the technology added to it.
Okay.
There's like aging technology and the new technology, so they kind of got a mix of both. I don't know.
Okay, so this is only for the fire department vehicle or all the emergency vehicles we have?
This is only for the fire department vehicles, but the CPOs and stuff would have the option to add it to theirs as well.
Okay, and that's good you mentioned for the technology, like if we can do it for this year, right? In 2027, obviously, is almost at the end. So in the future, we need to do some upgrading on these systems, or is a one-time thing, or can you a little bit explain, because it has to be then continue expense?
It depends on how far along the technology moves. I assume it would last at least 10 to 15 years. But as things get better and technology gets better, then there is a chance that it becomes old technology and we need to replace it with whatever the newest is.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
So replace less than we do our own cell phones, basically.
Yes.
Because
I'd hope so.
I don't know, my cell phone lasts 10 to 15 years. Like 10 to 15 months, I feel like I have to upgrade my cell phone. Okay, any other questions with regards to the roads capital budget? Okay, thank you.
Go on to fleet.
Sure.
So the fleet department consists of 2 journeyman heavy-duty technicians, 1 heavy-duty apprentice, and 1 automotive technician. They're responsible for maintaining all city-owned fleet, including the fire department fleet and the CPO's fleet. The additional funds I'm requesting relate to an increase in fleet size, aging equipment, and historical information. For the fleet personnel, I'm requesting 1 additional automotive technician apprentice in 2026. Currently, the city employs 1 automotive technician, and with the increase of number of green spaces and pathways to maintain, the workload for smaller equipment has grown significantly. The apprentice would assist with minor tasks such as tire changes, parts pickups, oil changes, and other routine duties. This support would allow the technician to focus more on complex repairs and technical work. So again, it doesn't reflect on your sheet. I kind of touched on this during the roads, but the personnel, there should be a little bit higher increase in the personnel than what you guys are seeing now. And that again is because the personnel that I requested for fleet ended up on the road side of things.
Mr. Edney?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Dean. Just for clarity, sorry to contradict you, Brendan, but the new positions are not included in the personnel expense. So the road side, the increase was now replacing Andrew's position and the roads labor that were moved into the utility position. So that was just a continuation of existing positions. The new positions are a separate line item that will be discussed as part of the larger, which ones do you want to add and which ones do you want to add. Just for consistency, that's how all the other departments were displayed, and that's how this one's displayed. One other thing while I'm on the mic too, just nobody asked the question, but the user fees and charges, I spoke to it last week. Obviously, it's dropped from 101,000 to 0. What we've done this year is actually honored the transition agreements with the utility company and budgeted those in the respective departments. What kind of happened over the years where there just ended up being a placeholder because we know fleet does work for the utility company. That's that larger project that Grayson's looking at going forward, of making sure as the automotive technicians are working on the garbage trucks, are working on storm vehicles, that's properly being allocated back to the utility. So we've just tried to start, I guess, from scratch on that, and we'll come back into next year's budget with a better reflection of where those costs actually go.
Okay. Thank you. Council, any questions with regards to the fleet budget? Okay, seeing none.
So for the fleet capital budget, requesting a 100-ton press replacement. This is a press that is probably 15, 20 years old at least, and it hasn't been in service for quite some time. We've sent out for repairs, and it's not worth the price of repair at this point. So this would be a replacement of a current press that we have. This would help us cut down costs on contracted services. So we wouldn't have to be sending things out when we could do it in-house.
Great, thank you. Questions from council with regards to fleet capital budget? The one question I have is, when we have repairs that need to be done on anything that's within our fleet, percentage-wise of what we do in-house, high, low, what's our...
Oh, it's very high.
Very high for in-house.
Yeah, very high.
One of the things that I've often wondered is, if we have to send anything out, can we look at utilizing local businesses as much as we possibly can, as opposed to utilizing, easy for you to say, businesses outside of Chestermere? Is that something that we are currently...
We have looked, but there isn't really those type of businesses in Chestermere for a lot of the tire shops and stuff that we have in town. We can definitely do all that work in-house. It's more for specific pieces of bigger equipment. So there isn't really that option
Fair.
for right now.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council with regards to fleet capital? Okay, then are we going to roads and fleet staffing requests? Or that's
Yeah, I touched
basically
on
already
that
been
kind of in the
discussed.
beginning, but I can reiterate again. It's just one additional operator for roads and additional automotive technician apprentice
Okay,
for fleet.
okay, thank you. I think that comes to the end of your presentation here. So, council, final opportunity for any questions that you have with regards to roads and fleet. Seeing none, you're off the hook.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, because where are we going next, Mr. Edney? Mr. Edney.
I think we'll go to fire if that's okay. I may suggest a break before we get in.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. Okay, so we're gonna take a break. We will come back at 10:35, and when we come back from the break, then Councillor Sambo will be chairing the meeting, as I have a 10:30 that I have to attend. So I apologize to our fire chief. I have to step out during a presentation, but know that I support the fire crew. Thanks, everybody.
All right, and welcome back. I think we have a presentation on fire services now.
My comments will be through the CAO to Mayor and Council. My name is Cody Zebedee. I'm the fire chief for the city of Chestermere, as well as I'll be presenting today on our emergency management side, as well as I'm the DEM, and that falls under my preview as well. So kind of a general overview of our fire service. Obviously, we provide fire response to the city of Chestermere on a 24-hour basis. We deliver fire prevention, fire inspections, education, and a lot of community engagement throughout the community in relation to public safety. We maintain a BLS level of medical response. So within our preview for our response for medicals, our firefighters will operate to the basic life support level, which is a little bit higher than in some other communities. So again, we provide a fairly robust program on the medical side. Also, we ensure emergency readiness and coordination with our regional response partners. Like we've just talked recently about our MOU with Rocky View County. That's again how we are collaborating with some of our partners. And why we're all here: protect lives, property, and environment through prevention, preparedness, and rapid response. So that's kind of our preview. Before we get to this slide, I just wanted to share, if Josh can maybe pull up the stats slide. I thought this was maybe an interesting time. I haven't presented a whole lot of stats to council, and I want to make this more of a regular thing because I think it's important to have council and the community understand some of the things that we do out in the community and what we do on a day-to-day basis. So, and I will preface this: when this was built, this was our stats as of November 5th. So 1,544 incidents, and a breakdown of those calls are kind of on the right screen there. So fire and related, so those would be building fires, vehicle fires, grass fires, dumpster fires, things like that. Emergency medical responses was 930. Our motor vehicle collisions was 91. Hazardous conditions, so with no fire, so that could be a gas leak, something along those lines. Service call would be just generally something like a water issue. So if somebody's water pipe broke in their basement, we go and support with that. Our good intent calls, so those could be canceled en route calls or just a general public kind of assistance call. Alarms and false alarms calls, 297. So that's a fire alarm activation. And it could be a residential, could be a multifamily, could be a commercial building. And then severe weather and natural disaster, again, one of those. And then special incident is one of those as well. So just to give you a bit of a contrast between November and December 5th, our calls as of December 5th were 1,695. So we went up just over 100 calls in a month. So our average call volume in a month is about 152 calls per month, which equates to about 5.25 calls a day, depending on how things roll. Again, there's days where there may only be 1 or 2 calls, but then there's also days where there's 15. So that kind of fluctuates. Next slide, please. So this is a bit of a breakdown of our fire calls.
Could I just stop you there for 1 second?
Absolutely.
Mr. Edney, is this in our package somewhere, or is this an additional slide that's been added? Oh.
Thank you, Councillor Sandbo. This is an additional slide that's been added on the side just to bring some stats up to understand what's going on in the budget. So I apologize, it wasn't part of the original budget presentation.
That's okay. Could we have that emailed to us? I'd like to look.
Yes.
Thank you.
The fire service stats. So these are the fire stats. And often people will ask, well, you see fires, what are you actually responding to as far as fires go? So when we look at this, 23 structure fires. Now that doesn't mean full-blown fires where fire's blowing through a roof, but it could be a fire in an oven, which extends to cabinets, could be a fire on the top of a stove or a small garbage can fire, all the way up to, larger events. Vehicle fires, vegetation fires, outside rubbish fires, so those would be trash containers, garbage dumpsters, things like that, or crop or vegetation fires. So these are our responses as of November 5th. Next slide, please. And then this is just an interesting little map. It's what we refer to as a heat map. So this map depicts kind of the areas in which we're seeing our larger call volumes occur. So the darker the color, the more calls that have occurred within that area. So it just takes and populates kind of our calls and plunks them onto a bit of a map to give us an idea of where our calls are occurring at off our data. This one here is an interesting stat. This is our co-occurring calls. So this is times in which we're having more than one call occurring at a single time. So as you can see, our numbers are trending up. from 23 to 24, 25. So so far year to date, and this is again as November 5th, 248 calls occurred at the same time. So which broke down to about 120 times there was more than one call occurring at once. And with that being said, there was 13 times in which there was more than 2 or more calls occurring at the same time, so stacked calls. So there could be a medical call, an alarms call, and an MBC happening, or 2 MBCs in a medical run. So that's what that number is kind of depicting, is how many times that we're actually starting to, we call it stacking calls, or having multiple calls occurring at the same time. And I would anticipate this number to continue to rise as the community grows and, you know, population increases and things like that. All right, next slide, please. And this is just a bit of a highlight of our training, what occurs with our staff members. So it's kind of broken down into categories, and then the total number of hours spent on our categories of training. So safety codes, CISM, ICS, which is Incident Command through Emergency Management, safety training, medical training, SOG or SOG driven training. So if we roll on a new SOG, there's often, which is a standard operating guideline, there's often training that comes along with that. Rescue training, so vehicle extrication, water rescue, those sorts of things that fall into that rescue. The administration side, and then our fire training. So that's live fire burns, that's doing standpipe training, high-rise operations, so on and so forth, for a total of just under 41,000 hours of staff training. And this is on-shift training, and some of this is training that also happens while the guys are off shift when we actually travel to, say, Vulcan for the use of their burn tower, because we don't have the facility here. Next slide, please. And this is on our prevention and inspections. So you'll notice a big jump in our inspection numbers this year. Last year, Kimball, I guess it was this year, Kimball Yorston, who is our fire inspector, his position was added. So you can see how that's increased the number of inspections that have been completed throughout this year. And these are 269, and that was as of November 5th. And we are sitting at, just let me grab the new number here. I want to say that they are sitting at 305 right now since November 5th. So again, these are the inspections that we're going into businesses, schools, things like that, and actually completing those fire code inspections. And then our community engagement. This is one thing that I'm very proud of our department, is how much we're out in the community. So we do have a program through our software that we track a lot of stats, as you can tell. And this is one thing that we do track, is how many community engagements we actually touch with individuals. So this is everything from our after the emergency. So when there's a fire in a community, our crew will go out and blitz that community, talking about smoke detectors, home safety plans, drop off some information, have conversations with children or families around what's happened and some of the things they can do to prevent it in their homes. Again, trying to make sure that we have working smoke detectors in those communities. One of the pieces on this that I think we'll highlight as well, we've just gone to print. We have a lot of our material is in English. As we know, our community isn't predominantly all English. So we've looked at our demographic, and we're going to start tailoring some of our prevention material to some of the languages in which that we serve. So through our prevention bureau, they've set up with comms to develop one of our information packages in Punjabi. So had all of our English stuff translated into Punjabi, so that when we are going out, we're actually able to relate with some of the community a little bit better and provide just a little bit more information to them. So that's going to print here right away. So I'm hoping that we can have some of that. So that would be something that we would hand out after the emergency. So our community events, fire station tours, home safety plans, school tours, and fire prevention sessions. And the total number of touch points this year is around 20,000 residents throughout these events and things that we've done. So I think that might be it. Josh, is that it?
Great, thank you. Could I ask you to back up to that heat map?
Sure.
This is great data. I wanted to ask a couple of questions about this one, if I could. It looks like there's 2 spots where there were the most responses. So is that Chestermere Boulevard and 284?
So the one on
No, that's Rainbow Road.
Yeah, Rainbow Road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are those vehicle collisions?
Would be vehicle collisions, or there could also be right in that area. So it takes kind of a general area, so it's maybe not pinpointed. So it could be like the apartment buildings or the multifamilies that are in there. If there's medical runs into that area, it will help concentrate it. So depending on how tight I zoom this map in, it will start to parse that data out a little bit further. So when I did this, I wanted to kind of give that citywide view, but we can parse it down into further detail as soon as we zoom in a little further.
Okay. That other point, what would that be? Is that right in front of the...
That's at the fire hall.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that just coded to the fire hall?
It is. So when a call comes in, so there may be events that happen at the fire hall where we get a lot of walk-ups. So people come to the fire hall. Recently, we had an individual that cut the top of his foot nearly off with a skill saw. And as opposed to calling 911, he was down in South Shores. He drove to the fire hall and showed up at the fire hall to render assistance. So it is fairly common that we do receive a lot of calls into the station due to walk-ups and things like that. So then it gets coded to the fire hall. So that's why you're seeing that. And Joel, is there anything else on that?
No, that was well done.
Okay.
I totally agree.
Okay.
Great. Any other comments, questions from council? All right.
Okay, so I'll jump into the operating budget. So our operating budget, as you can see, our user fees went up a little bit. And again, that'll be due to motor vehicle collisions because we do charge on the highways. We charge Alberta Transportation, or ATIA, for those responses onto the highways. So anything with a numbered highway, we are able to recoup some cost. Same thing with our mutual aid agreement. So if we're responding into other areas, we do have a cost recovery method, in fact, in place for those areas as well. So that's kind of the revenue piece. Personnel expenses, again, we'll talk a little bit more about this in the next slide. With regards to personnel and what we're kind of looking at doing there. Business and training went up a little bit. Partly this is due to we've now got our platoon chiefs that are in place, and we're trying to really build a whole bunch of systems, maybe more strategic placement on how we actually operate as a fire service now with some new key pieces. So this will help go to support the command training that we're looking at doing for all of our officer staff, again, to try and align into some strategic systems that also align with some of our partners surrounding us. We do have our secondary response agreement with the City of Calgary. So again, trying to make sure that our systems are tying into both of those. So that's where the increase on that personal expense comes in. Then we look at our contractor general services went down. So that's mainly because we've added a new engine last year and we'll be adding a new engine this year. So again, with the newer vehicles, we're expected to see less maintenance that occurs. There's warranty on these vehicles for 12 months. And again, we're not having to spend as much money with the newer vehicle with maintenance costs of things going wrong. So our older engine, we were typically spending, between $8,000 to $10,000 a year to have the exhaust system cleaned on it just because of the age of it. So that's where the decrease comes in there. And our supplies and materials, this is just cost of things going up. So our turnout gear, all of our PPE, a lot of it comes out of the States. So the US dollar has effect on it, as well as just the cost of goods going up for our clothing suppliers and things like that. So that's where that cost comes from, or that cost increase comes from. Any questions?
Councillor Grant.
Thank you. Through the chair to administration and Chief CBD, and maybe this can stay with Mr. Edney. I'm just wondering about the accounting of, or the mechanical work, the contract and general services. Is that something that our in-house staff do for the fire service? And then is that bookkeeping is there a transfer that's done from fire to operations? How do we account for the in-kind service? I'm just for my own understanding of how we're presenting this.
You want to speak to that? You want me to speak to it? Yeah, so our contracted service, because of our specialty equipment, that contracted service line is for things that the shop can't do. So things like our aerial, when it needs to have a non-destructive test done on it or an inspection. Our pump testing, so every year our trucks are required to be flow tested or pump tested. Our self-contained breathing apparatus requires external third parties coming in, gas monitors, things like that. So that contracted service line is for everything outside of what our fleet folks do for us each and every day.
Mr. Edney.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Sandbo. Just to supplement that question too, one thing we don't do, but it's something we're going to start seeing how we can look at it in 2026 is fleet does all the work under the fleet budget. We don't necessarily put it under a specific department's budget. So as you saw with roads or parks or even fire, we track it, but we don't necessarily do it as a budgeting item. So that's something we're looking at. Should we do that differently, or is the way we do it fine, just as long as we're capturing what it actually costs to run each department?
Councillor Grant.
Thank you. And I assume that's largely the same for the utility, or hopefully what we're going to do moving forward with the utility, just to make sure that where something is where the expense is borne, it should live.
And Mr. Edney.
Thank you, Councillor Sandbo. Yeah, absolutely correct. That's the entire exercise. We'll look at the whole city that way.
All right. Do we have any other comments or questions on the fire services operating budget? Good. Please continue.
Okay, emergency management budget. So again, emergency management does fall under my preview. Not a lot of revenue on the emergency management side, obviously. And generally, for the most part, unchanged. One of the things that you will notice in here is our supplies and materials. So we are looking at potentially relocating our Emergency Operations Center, or ICP as some may call it, Instant Command Post, from the fire hall up to community operations on the second floor. Again, it's a bigger space for us. Building is on backup power, a little bit more storage there. There's some additional breakout rooms that would just provide us with a better space. So some of this funding will go to help buy some of the equipment that we need to set that up. We would still keep the fire hall as a backup. So in the event something happened to the community operations building, we have a backup plan. But this would be to help us get us set up into that space.
And a question for you on that. Is
Yes.
that space used for anything else? Because it sounds like it's only used in case of an emergency.
Yeah, so
Just sitting there the rest of the time?
So the comm ops building is used often. I guess maybe these guys could speak a little bit more to it, but certainly.
Sorry, I'll back
Yes.
up. Not comm ops, but the space that you're setting up for your emergency location.
Correct.
Does that become a permanent location just for that purpose? Or what exactly are you setting up in that space?
Yeah, so basically what we'd be doing is putting some shelving in a storage room, and all of our equipment would live in that area. That room would be able to be utilized for anything, anytime. In the event of an activation, then we would just set up a bunch of tables and workspaces inside of that room. So that room doesn't all of a sudden become that space and nothing else happens in there. It remains the usable space 99% of the time, except for maybe we're doing training or an emergency drill or something like that, or we're actually activated.
Right?
So it's much the same as our training room at the fire hall right now. That is where it actually serves. So our training room is used every day. And in the event of something happening, it would then be utilized for that.
Mr. Edney, did you want to comment on that specifically? No? Okay. Is this Councillor Schindler? No, I'm sorry to answer my question. Great. Mr. Edney, you're lit up.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Sandbo. Administration was hoping we could request a quick closed session to discuss the next part of the emergency management budget. I believe Ledge Services has a section under intergovernmental relations. If council would
Okay.
do that.
Looks like it's up on the screen. Would a councillor like to make this motion? Councillor Schindler.
I move that council go into closed session at 10:53 a.m. to discuss the following: Fire Access to Information Act, ATIA, Section 26, disclosure harmful to intergovernmental relations.
So there's a button on here that says start voting. It's after I call the vote. Is that what you'll do that? Great. Thank you, Josh. So call for the vote. Okay. I guess that's carried. Yes? Okay. Yeah, I'm confused. I'm confusing myself here because I know I pressed the button. All right. In that case. Could I have a councillor make the following motion? Councillor Rantawa.
Thank you, Your Worship, Chair, Chair Council Sambo. I move that the council come out of closed session at 11:02 a.m.
All right, call for the vote. And that is carried. We are coming out of closed, and we'll take just 5 minutes to let people come back in. Great, and welcome back. Is my mic on? It is. All right, over to you.
All right. So the next we'll talk about is our fire services capital budget. So in this budget, we do have the first line, which is PPE for new staff, like we talked about, and I'll talk a little bit further about it here in a few minutes. That one is going to be pushed until 2027, so we won't have to worry about that one. The next one is the self-contained breathing apparatus, or SCBA. So this is a replacement life cycle of our self-contained breathing apparatus, which the firefighters wear when they go into burning building or hazardous atmospheres. Our current equipment has reached its end of life and is due to be replaced. This was brought forward last year, and I did find out a little bit more detail because there was some confusion about, was this approved last year or what happened last year? So what happened last year was it was decided to be pushed until 2026. And the reason for that, in 2025, there was a standard change. So a lot of our equipment is governed by NFPA standards, and last year was a standard change. So it would be remiss of us to purchase those SCBA last year in the midst of a standard change to then have equipment that didn't meet the latest and greatest standards. So that was the decision to push that until 2026, was that standard change on the SCBA. The next one is our thermoimaging cameras. So this is to replace 8 thermoimaging cameras, which reside on all of our primary response apparatus. And what the thermoimaging camera does is allow the firefighters to see through smoke, find hot spots in behind walls and roofs and ceilings. We can also utilize them for search and rescue operations or motor vehicle collisions, and even hazardous materials calls. So the current equipment that we have right now is reaching end of life. And so this is more of that proactive piece of replacing it before it all starts to die on us or comes up with extremely costly repairs on aging equipment. The next one is the order FD020 engine equipment. So council approved the purchase of this piece of equipment already, which it's expected to arrive in April of 2026. So this would be equipment to outfit that piece of that equipment when it shows up. And so what this does actually is it allows us for a little bit of a buffer in our response. So meaning right now we only have 2 engines and an aerial. So the idea will be is this will fully outfit a third engine as a reserve truck. So a reserve truck will have older equipment on it, and will be primarily used for when a piece of equipment goes out of service for repairs, maintenance, whatever that may be. The reserve engine can come in, so that way the city is still protected. So in the event we have a large fire and both engines in the tower are assigned to that fire, we still have another engine that we can staff to provide emergency response for the city. So by purchasing this equipment, it just sets that new engine up with the same equipment that's on our existing engine through our standardization, and then allows us some, capacity, if you would, when equipment goes down. And then the last one is the tender upgrade, so FD005. So this would just be some minor upgrades to our existing tender. It's 10 years old now, so upgrading some of the reflective packaging on it, changing out the rear dump. So on our tender is basically a big water hauler. Right now it has a manual chute on the back of it. So this would be to upgrade that to an electronic chute that the fire truck could back up to a pond and dump the water immediately, close the valve and drive off and go get more water. The quicker that we can move those trucks around, the more efficient our operation is. This will also add some hearing protection into that truck, as right now there is no hearing protection in it. So we operate with an intercom type system, which allows the driver and the officer the ability to communicate over the sirens, engine noise. And then when the truck is actually pumping outside, because the exterior pump panel on it is quite loud, this offers the operator the hearing protection, the ability to still hear the radio, communicate with the officer, hear other radio transmissions that occur. So that's kind of the high level of that, the upgrades on that truck. Any questions?
Great, thank you. Any comments or questions from council? No? You're off the hook.
All right. So I think there was one last slide, which was just touching on looking at in 26 an emergency management coordinator for our emergency management team. So that's one thing that we'll be discussing further with regards to that position. And then the other piece that I will talk about that you don't see in here is that we did request 4 staff this year for firefighters. In consultation with CAO Edney and the rest of the ELT and yourselves, we thought it was prudent that the rest of the organization start to build some capacity as well. Our second fire hall isn't ready for us to move into. We haven't started building yet. So it allows us a little bit of a buffer there. But we will be coming back to council in 27 for 8 staff to get us set up for the second fire station. So hopefully us pulling back those 4 allows some other areas to build the capacity that they need so badly.
Great, thank you. We appreciate that conversation.
That.
All right, last chance for comments and questions from council. No, nothing?
Perfect.
Great, thank you. Who's up next, Mr. Edney?
Next up, we have Kylie Hoskins to talk about facilities and recreation. And that will be back in your... I think you're starting at 104.
104, okay. That's okay. All right, we good?
So good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm Kylie Hoskins, the Corporate Properties and Recreation Manager. So all comments directed to CO Edney, to Mayor and Council. So facilities, we maintain and manage all city-owned properties and buildings, including park buildings. So that pretty much encompasses everything, making the facilities run and preventive maintenance of all those facilities. So common services budget, this is actually the admin budget for community operations. So this is 3 administrative professionals and 1 purchasing clerk. So there's no changes to this budget whatsoever, just a general increase in contracted and general services. Facilities common service budget. So this previously was the community operations building budget. We have merged 3105 and 3162. So 3105 was the facilities team. So all the personnel was just in that budget and their PPE. So we've merged them too. So now there's 1 less budget that you guys have to look at. So that's the biggest increase that you'll see is personnel. So all that one from 3105 has been moved into the comm ops facility budget.
Great.
Any questions?
Comments or questions from council? Oh, there we go. Councillor Schindler.
This is one of the first lines I've seen in these. Can you talk about debt repayment?
That one I cannot comment on. That one I'd have to
Through
defer to
the
Mark
chair to
for.
administration. I apologize for my informality.
Mr. Edney, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Sandbo. I'll have to get back to you, but we do have some still debt outstanding on some of our different facilities. I'd have to go check exactly which one this is. Our finance consultant split the debt payments up to the various different groups based on what they are. So I'll have to report back to you on exactly what that's for in this particular budget.
And an additional one is utilities. I haven't seen that as a line item in these budget presentations yet.
So this will be our gas, water, sewer, electricity
okay.
for the buildings.
For all the buildings.
This one's just for community services or community operations.
Okay.
So every facility will have a utility tied to it now for that property.
Okay.
And the only change here with your revenues, you'll see that the revenues decreased to 18,000 is because we stopped the first student. The buses are no longer at community operations. So that revenue is no longer coming in.
Okay. Thank you.
Great.
Next. So this one is facilities budget. This is actually the CCLD budget line. So this is the Synergy building and the Enviro Services trailer over where the environmental services guys hang out. So no real change in there. We just reduced the contracted and general services because there was a placeholder in here for the community services rental for that space that was planned for this year but didn't happen. So that's your reduction there.
That rental, which one were you
So
talking?
that was for community
CSS?
services for their rental space that we were going to do across the street. So that was put in as a placeholder to cover the rent. So that's now been taken out.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions on that one? Councillor Schindler?
And so what is left in there?
So this is basically any contracted general services to deal with their furnace or any
Okay.
HVAC. That's just what that is.
Okay.
entails.
Okay, thank you.
This is City Hall, so this is this facility. There's no real change there. We haven't had any increases. It kind of remains the same.
Comments or questions from council? You're good.
Okay. Our CMP is next. Again, no real big changes. Utilities, I'm not sure why this number is quite low, so it's something I might have to go back and look at because it does look quite low for what we forecasted. So it should be around the same mark.
Okay.
Facilities parks budget. So this one covers all of the parks facilities. So your boat launch, anniversary park bathroom, and Sunset Beach bathrooms. So this is any janitorial or pit stop that has to come in and pump out any of those septics. General maintenance, janitorial costs with the amount of, especially at Sunset, there's been some graffiti and stuff that's happening to those bathrooms. We're having to call in professional companies to come clean out those buildings.
Okay.
Fire, again, no real changes there. Everything's kind of status quo. I have no big surprises for you when it comes to facilities.
I don't think they change very much.
No.
They don't surprise us, do they? Okay.
So facilities capital budget, so just an overview of what we kind of previously went over. So City Hall air balancing, due to the renovations that were done in this building, the air balancing is off. So we do have to do a report and come out with the findings to figure out what we can do to make the heating and cooling in the building more balanced. Rental space for community services. Again, this was the budget item from last year. We had a placeholder in for that, and the budget came back, or the RFP came back quite high, so we have to just figure out and identify what the best use of this capital budget item is moving forward.
Councillor Schindler.
Yeah, if I can just quickly go back to the operations budgets, through the chair to Mr. Edney, I'm wondering, or perhaps to you, do we have a life cycle management plan for these facilities as it relates to maintenance? Like, can we expect a $150,000 re-roof project coming up, or?
Yes, so the roof is right now, so we're just getting a report back on our flat roof, but in future years, there'll be a BMS or HVAC system. All of those will be in your forecasted 27 to 2030.
Okay, yeah, and then I'll go into, I'm assuming, the new asset management system that I'm a huge fan of. Okay, thank you kindly.
You're welcome. Rental, so you went on over
One
there.
moment, please. Councillor Grant.
Thank you. Through the chair to administration, I had a question about the facilities parks budget and the debt repayment of that. Is that similar, Mr. Edney, where you're going to have to get back to us on that, or do you know what that one is?
Oh, sorry. Mr. Edney.
That's all right. Thank you, Councillor Sandbo. Yeah, I'm going to have to get back to you on all the breakdown. I know the total debt repayment number works out. I've just asked for some notes from our consultant of how they broke that out to each specific budget item. So I'll report back when I have that answer.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, City Hall furnished staff areas. So again, this is just a placeholder for staff growth accounting for every year. So it's just kind of a placeholder that stays in there. Fencing south of the shop. So community operations has acquired 3.2 acres of land south of the shop, and this would be just to fence that area in to provide an extra space for street sweepings, lake weeds, and just equipment storage for all of our future fleet that is coming on board. Fire panel RCMP and fire. So right now that fire panel for RCMP and fire are running on two separate systems. So if there's a fire in RCMP, fire is not aware of it. So this would make sure that when there is something happening in that building, both sides are alerted and aware for emergency preparedness. CPO office renovations. So as you'll see with the next three ones that I have on my list, it's kind of a commonality that we're running out of space, or we're nearing or at our capacity. So the next three are basically to allow for those staff growth, so we're providing space for those new employees. RCMP second and third floor construction, again with the detachment kind of running at capacity. The option for the RCMP has capabilities for building a second and third floor. So this is just looking at what that would look like and how much that would cost.
Mr. Edney.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Sandbo. So to elaborate a little bit more too on these three particular items, we've had a discussion internally administratively that, as Kylie pointed out, we're running out of space everywhere. We've got a bit of a project going on right now to look at City Hall and community operations usage. We're going to expand that really to looking at all of the city, all of our buildings we own, all our spaces, looking at the rec center. What can we do either at our existing rec center? Can we work with the CRCA to, put some portable offices out there? When we build our fire hall, can we look at putting another floor on top of it? Again, for some extra space, and just really looking wholesomely at the whole organization. So these three items in particular are placeholders where we know there's definitely a problem, but we want to integrate it into a wholesome look at not just what we have now, but also future. Again, where's the library going to go? If the library does move out of City Hall, how can we use that space and have a comprehensive plan over sort of the next 5 years of what we could do with our various spaces. So just wanted to add that in there of while these items are particularly identified, we're looking at a more wholesome picture as well.
Thank you, Mr. Edney. And you said this is a project that's ongoing now. So what's the timeline you're looking at on that project? Are you doing this with a consultant, or is this the leadership team doing this review? Mr. Edney.
Yeah, right now at this stage, it's really just a leadership team looking at it. As we get through it, if we need a consultant to come in with some design ideas or something like that, we'll do that. One of the things we're trying to do is just use the expertise we have now around the table to come up with some of this versus just going straight out to a consultant. So if we do need their help, we'll come back to council and ask for that. And if not, we'll try and tackle this ourselves here right now.
And you're looking at that right now actively. Are we going to get a report back to council at some point? What timeline are you looking at?
Yeah, I would say in the new year. We'll come back, I don't know, maybe January, February sometime, and talk to council about it really more wholesomely to understand. Let's go with February so we can look at if there are budget implications as well.
I like Mr. Fluker's answer that he's saying over there. He said January.
Mr. Fluker, I appreciate his eagerness, but I want to make sure we have enough time to also meet all the different deadlines for getting on council agendas and balancing. We'll have busy agendas coming in the new year with all this stuff coming out. So
all right.
Perhaps we'll look in January if we can, but January, February, we'll come back with that report.
Thank you. Councillor Schindler.
Yeah, I'd want to second that and just encourage that to keep going. I think that there could be some look at efficiencies in how we use our spaces. Perhaps there is some space that can be reorganized to be more efficient and just, fit a couple more folks in or whatever we can do. So, yay, let's do that.
All right. Did you have any more comments before I open it up?
Not with facilities, that's about it for that, so I can move on to rec, I guess.
Just one minute there. Mr. Edney, you're lighting up again.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I think we just skipped over the new fire station. It says building, but that's really for land acquisition. Administratively, we're still working through a couple of different sites that may work for this new fire hall. Again, tying it into some of our future needs and requests from an operations perspective of what do we need, not just for the fire department, but do we need space for operations or CPOs or any of that kind of stuff as well. So this is a placeholder just to make sure it's authorized as we go through the year when we come back to council with, hey, here's exactly where we want the fire hall to go, that money has been allocated in the budget so we can continue to collect it in the offsite levy model.
Thank you. Comments and questions on the facilities capital budget? None? I do have one for you, Mr. Edney. For the CSS rental space, would we need to rescind that capital item from last year? Or how are you recommending that we add this into the budget for this year? Mr. Edney.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Sandbo. So the request this year is to increase essentially the budget from last year. as we found the budget that was allocated last year wasn't sufficient. So as discussed a little bit in camera, if council did not want to proceed with that particular version of the project, it would be obviously not add this into the budget, and then we would just rescind cancel that project from 2025. So I've got that on my notes of things to make sure we tackle when we get into deliberations.
But if council goes ahead with this project as presented, then no work is needed from last year's project.
Correct. The two will add together and be the one project.
Great, thank you. Please continue.
So land development capital budget. So the first one is the rec center land prep. So that's to get the site ready for Dawson for shovel ready so that we can prepare to build that rec center. Community ops land prep. So this is to prep the land on the south where we're fencing to make sure that our equipment and vehicles can get in there safely and to make sure that it's a gravel pad so it would be scraping or moving material and getting that prepped.
Councillor Schindler.
I have a question about the rec center land prep. What is the sorry, the thought process behind that? So when we put out that project out for tender, whoever wins that project will have to do land prep as part of their normal procedures on building a building. So are we putting the cart before the horse on this one? Do we have to? This isn't a school, so we don't have to prep the land to pristine ahead of time. And if we're starting the rec center in the next 2 years, I'm hoping that land will get done through that contract.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Sandbo. Councillor Schindler, I do apologize. This is one of these things that ended up in the facilities budget for Kylie to speak to, but hasn't really had any involvement in it. This is more of a CGI project. Unfortunately, Kate wasn't available today to come in and chat about this. My understanding of this is really it's the 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's an offsite levy funded project. It's really, as you drive by there, you've got mounds, you've got debris, you've got all that. It's to do that preliminary rough cleanup. Now to your question of does it have to be done this year? I'm not entirely sure. You're right, it would be done as part of the construction. I just don't know if doing it at the same time holds up the construction or if this is a way to just move it forward faster. I'd have to circle back with you and get some comments directly to provide you those.
Yeah, and I had just if those mounds of dirt were a part of the construction of those communities, I'm curious as to why it's the city's responsibility to move them and not the parties who have built those communities. So that might be something you have to take away as well.
Mr. Edney again.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Sandbo to Councillor Schindler. Unfortunately, I can answer that question. Frankly, oversight on the city's part when the city entered into the development agreements.
Okay.
This was not something that was put. Rec land is different than the high school sites, right? They don't have to necessarily do anything on this land. It's something we probably should have captured, but my understanding is we didn't. Therefore, it becomes the responsibility now of the current landowner, which happens to be us.
I hope that we can rectify that in the future, because cleaning up construction mess is not something that we should be.
We won't
funding.
let that happen in the future.
Thank you.
Councillor Grant.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mr. Edney, I had some same questions about what is our standard for accepting MR. I find it hard to digest that unusable land is okay to be dedicated as MR. I mean, that's it doesn't meet the purpose in my assessment. So and now it may cost us, as Mayor Dean said before, $3 signs. So I hope, like, I do hear what you are saying about moving forward. I hope we are being more stringent on it, and we aren't accepting less than we deserve. So.
Mr. Edney.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Sandbo. To Councillor Grant, I think one of the things that makes this different is it isn't MR that's dedicated necessarily through. Because we had the high school site in this community and the other school sites, this was something that, if you recall, we purchased back last fall. So this perhaps was an oversight at that time of something we should have looked at. Again, I think we got a better price at the time for the then owner not doing this work. My long answer is I think we would have paid for it somehow eventually anyway. So I know there was some conversation around could we combine this project with the school site prep and kind of do it all at once. So that's something the team will investigate and circle back to council with.
Any last comments or questions on this slide? No? Good.
Probably tech, Josh. So a new recreation budget this year. So we've increased the contract in general services, and this is just going to come back to some consulting and planning work to provide a recreation kind of master plan, what we're going to do with our sites, kind of circling back to what Mayor Dean was talking about creating these grassroots opportunities. So where can we build these things? A capital campaign feasibility study to guide future facility investment, and a recreation strategy workshop. Supplies and materials. So this is just so we can start building that recreation in the community. So basic programming, trying to get us a kickoff into a future bigger plan.
Any comments or questions on that slide? First of all, Mr. Edney.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Sandbo. Just wanted to point out the municipal operating grants are the fee with WAD as part of our use of works agreement, and then it's the support for the CRCA that's currently in the budget. So those are the two line items for the operating grants. Again, we're going to work for next budget season to better reflect some of these roll-up names to capture what they actually are.
Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the chair to administration, I heard recreation, so it made me happy. You mentioned that we have money in here in our contracted services for a recreational strategy workshop. Living rec, trying to move stuff forward. There's many linchpins in trying to get this solved, and I'm concerned that if we're contracting services going to have a workshop, that we're not going to have this done till March, and that doesn't really fit with the rec committee and moving forward on recommendations for major projects. So I don't know when we have this scheduled, but I would like it to be early January if that's what we're doing, so we can get going on this. My second comment is around the operating grant for CRCA. I'm concerned that because we purchased the property and kind of removed Rocky View from this picture, and we have no IDP with them, that they won't necessarily fund the CRCA, which they have traditionally received, leaving an operational deficit this year. So I want to make sure that we're thinking about that, and I want to make sure that we're at least capturing something so that we can make sure that there's not going to be a hole there that's going to cause an issue for rec users in this community.
Mr. Edney.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Sandbo. So I think two comments will go, and then the larger project in there is the rec master plan, which of course will take us a little bit more time.